Welcome to another episode of the One Flow podcast. I'm Gopal, and it's been a while, but we're back, and this is another episode of the One Flow podcast, and we're going to get into enjoyment and how to enjoy life. So let's just take that word for example, enjoyment. Enjoyment, right? So enjoy, you're in the joy, and mental, mind. So enjoyment, you're of the mind where you're enjoying. You're enjoying, it's a mental state. It's a state of mind. Enjoyment is a state of mind. So how do we get there? You know, the French have a word, joie de vivre. And that just means the joy of life, the joy of being alive, enjoying just everyday, life, what eating and being with people, relationships, the joie de vivre. It's a joy. They talk about it like it's a state of mind, like joie de vivre. It's a place where you live in the joy of living. So there's even like in the cultural references to it, to enjoy life. And, it very much can be an attitude. I remember one time my teacher, he told a story about, there was a student, and this student came to him and said, listen, I'm not going to be around for a while because my father's dying and I've got to go to New York. So my teacher said, well, enjoy. And the guy was taken aback. He said, what? My teacher said, well, you said your father's dying, right? Yeah. And you got to go to New York, right? Yeah. Well, you got two choices. You can find something in there, some way, maybe even bittersweet, to enjoy it. Or you can go out there and assume that it's just going to be absolute misery. And that struck me. And I've heard that story a few times, and I've always remembered it. Because that means that you have a choice. And think about it, like so many people, we in life go through these things and something happens, something tragic or something sad. Had a friend of mine the other day that I'd known for over 30 years. We've lost touch and so forth, but he called me and he said, I got stage 4 cancer and it spread to other parts of my body. And that's one of those things in life. It's impactful. It hits you, but it's a part of life. And so what are you going to do with that? You have to find some way to deal with it. And in this world of opposites and polarities, you've got two choices. You can be miserable, or you can go through that human emotion that's painful and find some enjoyment in there. So it's helpful to know that you got a choice, because we're sort of conditioned to react certain ways. I'm always surprised when people, somebody dies. Just recently I saw that somebody died. They lived a great life. They were like 83 or something like that. And continually the comments were, that's so sad. It's so sad. But yeah, it's sad. But nowhere in there, very few people, if any, said, wow, he had a great life. What a good run. Wow, and he didn't really suffer at the end. It just was quick. He had a heart attack. But always it was just, we're conditioned to be like, death is bad. This is bad and that's good. You're not supposed to enjoy these things, but you can enjoy these other things. And I think that's where the problem comes in, right? So that you're in duality. We're all in duality. We're all pulled one way or the other. And it's the duality that hurts us, There's another Buddhist saying, one leg in two boats just tears you at the crotch. That can apply to a lot of things, jumping from one practice to another, to this, to that. But it's about duality. Like if you're in duality, you get torn apart. And so that's why as yogis, we try to maintain and gain a neutral mind or neutrality. We try to get to the place where the pairs of opposites don't bother us. So it's an attitude. Enjoyment is an attitude. You're having the attitude and you're accepting everything that happens. And within that, you're grateful to be alive so that you can experience it. And you're searching for something in there. That's like when you're like Irish wakes, right? They're all drinking, but there's a lot of jokes. People make jokes. There's a great clip of, uh, I can't go into it, but it was Conan O'Brien talking about how his dad had just died, and it was the whole thing where another actor called him up, and they had this whole riff going back and forth about like that actor was responsible for the deaths in his family, in Conan's family, and it just escalated these texts, and so there was Conan O'Brien is a comedian, and this other guy, comic actor, Jason Bateman, I think it was. And they're texting back and forth like, damn you killed my father. Something like that. But the fact was that in the darkest hour, like Conan went to comedy because that's how he flows in life. And Jason Bateman played along. There's a couple other people involved in the text, and they all just laughed about it. There's no doubt that he was sad that his father died, and but he chose to enjoy it with humor. And very few people do that. So it's an attitude. So how do you adopt that attitude? There's a great quote from Joseph Campbell where he says, participate joyfully in the sorrows of the world. We cannot cure the world of sorrows, but we can choose to live in joy. The warrior's approach is to say yes. Yes to life. Yay to it all. That's from his book, The Hero with 1,000 Faces. So he's talking about that warrior's approach. And you see that in spiritual paths a lot, the warrior's path, the spiritual warrior. Because he takes the mind of a warrior to conquer the subconscious mind and all of these thoughts from all of these lifetimes and the karma and all this stuff that we bring in with us. If you go on that spiritual path and you try to get out of this thing by burning off the karma, meditating and doing all that, or just meditating, trying to just master the mind, you need that kind of attitude of going to war with the mind. And that's why you see that metaphor throughout history about spiritual warrior and the idea that the spiritual path is like you have to be a warrior. So, but with that attitude, if you have the attitude to say yes to it all, that's what I like about that quote mostly, is that say yes to it all. You say yes to life. We do say no to a lot of things. A lot of people, especially that example of death, people say no to death all the time. Oh no, it's not supposed to happen. That's so sad. But we all know it's coming, and then we don't want to talk about it. Oh, that's macabre. That's just really, oh man, don't talk about it. But why not? Why don't we talk about it? Why don't we think about it? Why don't we meditate on our death, that it's coming, that it's on your shoulder, that it could happen tomorrow? If we did that, then maybe we'd live a lot more fully, myself included. We all get caught up in this day-to-day life stuff that we got to do. But adopting the attitude of yes is really helpful. Because if you say yes to everything, then it starts to flow. Many, 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 many years ago, when I first got to Los Angeles, I was curious about comedy and acting and stuff like that. So I took these improv comedy classes. And what really blew me away is like how spiritual improv comedy is. You've seen on like Whose Line Is It Anyway, and then you might have seen other improv shows, Second City and things like that, the Groundlings. But the improvisation has this very set rules. And, it looks like you give these actors a simple suggestion, and they just take it and they magically, brilliantly, geniusly just weave a story as scenes out of it. But there are actually set rules to follow within the improvisation or the riffing. And if you follow those rules, what happens is a scene opens up and it looks like magic and it looks like genius. And it is, but if you knew that, it's different than if you think that there's absolutely no rules and these guys are pulling it out of thin air. But one of the rules is yes and. That in every scene when one actor says something, so they're starting from zero in improvisation and there's nothing but maybe one suggestion, and one actor comes in and says, for example, God, it's a good morning. The sun's so bright. Now, the other actor has to acknowledge that in the positive, in the affirmative, with what they call yes and. So they say, yes, and it's 3 times the size that it was. And then that's adding some more information to it. And then the other actor has something to work with. But when you say no, the whole thing stops. The word no stops everything. The word yes keeps the flow going. And that's interesting, because in this duality, we say no to a lot of things. But the truth is, everything's coming from that one flow of creative consciousness. So how can you say no to anything? There's another great Joseph Campbell anecdote where he talks about getting to meet Swami Satchidananda, I guess. He was traveling through India. He was in some hotel in the lobby, and he ran into some friends. And they were like, hey, Joe, we're here to see the Swami. Do you want an audience with him? We can arrange it. And he said, yeah, that'll be great. So he talks about his meeting with Swami Satchidananda. And the way he describes it, he said, I walked in, and he goes, it was very confrontational. It was a completely empty room except for 2 chairs. And the Swami was sitting in one chair. And the person getting the audience sits in the other chair facing the Swami. So Joseph Campbell goes and he sits face to face with Swami Satchidananda. Swami goes, what's your question? And Joseph Campbell says to him, if everything is Brahman, which is another word for God, a Hindu word for God, right? Universality. If everything is Brahman, how do we say no to anything? And Swami Satchidananda smiled and he said, for you and I, we say yes. So then later on, he down in the lobby and talking to his friends, and he said, hey, Joe, what did you say to the Swami? He said that you're very close to enlightenment. And so it turns out that question was the very same question that Swami Satchidananda asked his teacher. So that's, at these higher levels of spirituality, there's a realization that God is in everything and that there's one flow flowing through everything. One single consciousness, and that's in the Sikh path, of course, and also Kundalini Yoga. There's Ek Omkar. It's the beginning of the Mool mantra. Ek means one, Om is the creative consciousness coming into form, and then Kar is just like the car, it goes, it flows. So Ek Omkar is one creative consciousness continually creating and flowing. And that's it. That's the root of it all. So if there's one flow, how do you say no to anything? But we have to train our minds to do that. We have to train our minds to say yes, because we're so conditioned to avoid suffering and seek pleasure. So it's about acceptance. If you can accept what's going on, then you can flow into the next thing. Yes, and I accept it. Now what's next? So what? What's next? So attitude is everything. Having a really positive flowing attitude is really important. But it's easier said than done. How do you do it? Well, you got to be able to control the mind, right? There's that idea of the monkey mind. It's always running around. In the teachings, we talk about that every blink of the eyes, 1,000 thoughts drops into the mind. So the mind never stops. There's always thoughts. So where are you between 2 thoughts? That's a good question. But the thoughts are always coming, and that's not going to stop. So your only choice is to find a way to flow with it and to control the mind so that it serves you. Now, we're in a very interesting time and space right now, because we have this technology, and the technology is new, and it's really great. I'm talking into this phone right now that's a camera that's absolutely amazing, and it also is a computer that has more storage on it than probably 10 of the computers I had in 1995, or 10 times the amount of storage that I had. I didn't have 10 computers back then. but it's 10 times the amount of storage that I had on one computer, and the capacity. It's increased. But it's also a blessing, but it's also a curse, because we have this attention deficit. They're attention grabbers, and there's very smart people who have figured out that how to grab your attention. And so it's a dangerous time to not be in control over your own mind, because others will control it. And it's highly sophisticated, super smart people have designed these algorithmos that can show you stuff that's going to make you want to stay on your phone, but also to give you these dopamine hits, so that you get literally chemical changes in your brain that make you want to keep doom scrolling. And that's a serious problem, because then it's very hard to control your own mind, and you need to get control of your own attention, because energy goes where attention flows. Wherever you point your mind, that's what's going to increase. So the mind is a magnification device, where whatever you focus on is where your energy goes. And so it's really, really important now to be able to control the mind and to conserve your attention, so that you can put it where you want to flow. Otherwise, you'll find yourself down, many flights of steps on Instagram or YouTube. And how often have you tried to go on, you thought of something you needed to look up on your phone, and then all of a sudden you're on Instagram scrolling? It's very, very tempting. Even, the best of us get sucked into it. So we have to have some kind of discipline for our own attention. That's one thing. Because if you're going to enjoy your life, you have to focus on your attention on the things that bring you joy, that you enjoy. And if you start focusing on things that others want you to focus on, then that's going to lead to a sort of depression. In fact, there's a special kind of depression that the master talked about that's very new for the technological age, and that's called cold depression, where just like that, you're doom scrolling and you're doing all this stuff. You're doing stuff. It's not like you're just sitting there and you can't move, like the old kind of depression where you just had no energy and you just couldn't get out of bed. This is cold depression, where you're moving around all the time, but you're just not satisfied, and you feel bad and you don't know why. And that is because of computers and the mind spinning and chasing information. So that's one of the problems. So one of the keys to enjoyment is acceptance, like we said, but then also conservation of attention. You have to be able to conserve your own attention. So now there's a quote from Yogi Bhajan, which I enjoy, and it was kind of a life changer for me, this quote, and it's about life flow, right? So we just talked about attention, and where you focus your mind is where your energy flows. And we get caught up in the mind in these massive thoughts, either in the past or in the future, right? We have these things from the past that pull our attention, either with regret, or we're back there looking for some reason that something happened to us, or bemoaning the past, fear of that something in the past is going to happen to us again. And then you've got the future, fear of the future, and also fantasies of what we want to create in the future. And it takes you out of the now. It takes you out of the present. And it stops the flow, because all of that flow is in the present. So it's quite of a long quote, but I'm going to get into it and break it down a little bit. With Yogi Bhajan talking about life flow. And he says, yesterday is yesterday. Today is becoming yesterday. And today is also inviting tomorrow. And from where comes the tomorrow? from your life flow. Yesterday is part of your life flow. Today is your life flow flowing. Tomorrow, it comes from life flow. Therefore, basically, there is nothing beyond the life flow, and your flow of life on this earth comes from infinity and goes to infinity. Now that puts things in perspective, or at least it did for me. So where your mind focuses, your attention, your energy flows, right? So you have this life force. We're here now in this moment, the eternal moment, and our life is flowing. But the mind, with all its thoughts, we are chasing thoughts of the past, the future, all these kind of things, and then this great subconscious will just give you all kinds of old thought forms and patterns and structures to chase. And because the mind is an infinite component, you could go on infinitely, and we do, which is why a lot of people aren't happy, and that's that suffering that the Buddhists talk about. But life flow, now that's a key to me to start getting into how we solve this problem of enjoyment and getting out of suffering. Life flow. And what I like about that is that other people talk about it in terms of the now, and then Eckhart Tolle talked about the power of now. But Yogi Bhajan is talking about life flow, and maybe others have, but he's the only one that I've come across that's talked about life flow. And what I think it comes from is because of that Ek Onkar. One creative force consciously creating and flowing. Life flow. So I'm going to go through that again. Yesterday is yesterday. Today is becoming yesterday. And today is also inviting tomorrow. Inviting tomorrow. And from where does the tomorrow come? It comes from your life flow. Yesterday is a part of your life flow. Today is your life flow flowing. And tomorrow it comes from life flow. Therefore, basically, there's nothing beyond life flow. So that's a key. That's a portal. That's a key code. It's focusing on your life flow. And so your life flow on the earth comes from infinity and goes to infinity. So we've got to get ourselves into the infinite, focusing. So, right, where your energy goes, where attention flows, we have to put some attention on the infinite. So then he goes on to say, never ever multiply yourself with time and space. That is the secret of happiness. He's giving it away there. Never ever multiply yourself by time and space. And that's when the mind grabs onto a problem and focuses on the finite, it multiplies time and space, right? So he goes on to say, now will always change. Now will always change. I'm depressed now. I was not depressed yesterday. And I shall not be depressed tomorrow. So today, depression is not mine. It just came. Today, the rain came. The only problem is that you do not have an intuition and you have emotions. Because emotion and commotions are caught by ego. And whatever is caught by ego at that moment looks to you to be reality forever. Now that's huge, because when you have a problem, right, you get emotional and commotional about it, and then what happens? Your ego grabs onto it, and the ego's designed to give you this earthly identity, to separate you out from the divine, from the infinite, from everything else, the one flow. It's designed to pull you out of that so that you can have an experience of your identity, of being apart. But it also multiplies the time and space when it grabs onto things, and it holds your mind in place focusing on those things. So now will always change. Now, which is the portal of infinity, of eternity now will always change. Now I am depressed. I wasn't depressed yesterday, and I won't be depressed tomorrow. So it's those things change. It's raining today. It's not raining. Not going to rain forever, right? Nothing lasts forever. Even your problems don't last forever. So when you have a problem and you grab onto it, you're focusing on it and you're multiplying it. And that's why we meditate and especially use sound current and mantra, because mantra can move things. It brings in the infinite. It brings in a vibration that could just very well dissolve that problem. So when you get caught in the moment, then you think that this problem is going to be a reality forever. So focusing on your life flow and not getting attached to the problems or the things that are happening is the key to happiness. So, where do you say that? Intuition. So the only problem is that you don't have intuition and you have emotions, because emotions and commotions caught by ego, and whatever's caught by ego that moment looks to you like it lasts forever. But whatever the reality of that time and space is, it's on you, but it's not you. He says, can you separate it out? Whatever it is that's in time and space that you're dealing with, whatever problem it is that's making you unhappy or in a state where you don't feel like you can enjoy it, whatever's happening, it's of the time and space. It's not, it's happening, it's on you, but it's not you. And the question becomes, can you separate that out? And that's why we always talk about being grounded in infinity, but then moving through, flowing through the field of time, the duality, the life, what we're doing. But we want to orient ourselves to the infinite first. That's where the meditation, the yoga, the breathing, the chanting, the sound current, that practice comes in. Because when we do that discipline practice every day, we're grounding ourselves in infinity. And that becomes a habit, and that habit creates a pattern, and that pattern begets energy, and that energy grows. The meditative mind grows. And so that's how you ground yourself in infinity. So I told you it was a long quote. We're going to go on. So whatever the reality of that time and space is that is on you, it's not you. Can you separate it? Where he says, the power of poverty is not you. Power of poverty is on you like a cloud, like a storm, like a twister. You just have to basically understand one fundamental thing. You are not time and you are not space. You are not time and you are not space. You're passing through time and space. And this is where it gets a little esoteric, but it's really, really interesting. Time and space is not reality. It's an orbit. There's a lot of places where he gets into orbit and axis, and to be quite honestly, I need to study that more because I only barely understand it. He says it's in orbit. Time and space is not a reality, but it's in orbit. Time and space provides orbit. Think about orbit. It's like gravitationally rotating around something. It provides orbit. It's a rail track through which your train goes, and those curvatures, the ups and downs, those heights and then the lows, the ups and the downs, are all part of that rail track. And the rail track is a part of the railway, but it is not the railway. That's the really big part of it. Like, so that we identify with things and we think that we're that. The ego grabs onto a problem, we think the problem is never going to end. But the rail track is a part of the railway, but it's not the railway, right? We're traveling through time and space, we're not the rail tracks. Time and space is not you. If you understand this, I can bet with you tomorrow and the day after tomorrow and thereafter tomorrow, you will be healthy, happy, holy, rich, prosperous, and you will start using automatic intuition, and you'll start growing and growing and growing. It doesn't take much. So that's a very big key. Remember, we said before, attitude, acceptance of whatever's going on, saying yes to it all. The attitude of enjoyment, right? It's an action. A while back I did this little video, and basically was happiness is an action. Happiness is an action, right? We think there's these circumstances if this happens, I'm going to be happy. If that happens, I'm not going to be happy. But happiness is an action. It's an action you take based on an attitude you have. Same thing with enjoyment. I'm going to enjoy this one way or the other, right? So time and space is not you. If we can meditate. Take some time to breathe. Take some time to meditate, do yoga, practice this, some small practice, some large practice, whatever it is. But then you can separate out the reality. You're infinity. You're not the time and space. So you don't get caught like a fish getting hooked when something happens and you react. But you can be happy. I bet with you tomorrow and day after tomorrow and thereafter tomorrow, you will be healthy, happy, holy, rich, prosperous, and you will start using automatic intuition, and you're growing. It doesn't take much. If you can separate out the time and space, and that is not you. The life flow gives you something to grab onto because you know that. But the now is eternity. That's very powerful. And it's not sitting sandwiched in some timeline. The time is relative. The time is a construct. The time is not reality. But yet we feel this time pressure, especially with technology. Now everything is seemed to speed up. Communication's almost instant with texts and phones. These phones, you can contact people instantly. And if they don't answer, you start getting neurotic about it. It's the whole culture, the whole reality, in a sense, or collective reality, has changed. People are moving faster, and the time pressure is getting even greater. And that's why one of the rules, or Yogi Bhajan called the 5 Sutras of the Aquarian Age, is when the time is on you, begin, and the pressure will be off. When the time is on you, you got to move, begin, and the pressure will be off. The question is, what are you going to begin? Are you going to begin something that gives you your life flow and leads to enjoyment? Or are you going to begin doom scrolling and like posting stuff for reactions and then checking to see if somebody liked your shit, right? So we have to control the mind, and we have to focus it on what we want to grow in our lives, and then be in that present now in the life flow. Discipline the mind, strengthen the mind enough so that you can focus it where you want it to be, and you can hold it, or they call it holding the space. You can hold the reality that you want to experience. And it's challenging more than ever. There's more opportunity than ever with these devices, but there's more challenge than ever because they're designed to steal your attention, to take your attention, to put it where they want it. And that just weakens you. That's what these practices of Kundalini Yoga are for this time, for this technological age. Kundalini Yoga and meditation is the technology of the human mind, body, computer, bioorganic system that interfaces with infinity. That's what it is. It's the operating system for this human apparatus, this human spaceship we have. And that's why I'm so passionate about it. And I teach it because it's a super powerful practice, and it will give you the tools you need to get out of this attention deficit, attention stealing social media stuff that people are caught in. There's a still point in meditation, and that's the shunya. So the goal is to get to that shunya state where there's an absolute stillness in the whole system, and that's where you access the infinity, the eternity from the now. So the shunya gets you to that now, and that's the if you can get to the life flow, staying in the now. Focused on your life flow, not yesterday, not tomorrow, but the now and the flow of whatever you're doing. See, when you're engaged in something that has your full attention and enjoyment, doing something that you enjoy, as the saying goes, time flies when you're having fun, right? Why? Why is that saying? Time flies when you're having fun. So time takes on a different aspect when you're having fun, when you're enjoying. When you're enjoying stuff, the mind is in that life flow. The mind is totally present because you're focused on something that's giving you joy. And that joy is begetting the life flow. It's keeping you in the now. That's another way to burn out that suffering or burn out that pain. Another thing from Joseph Campbell, where he says that you need to find a field of action that burns out the pain. So you find something you love to do, and you do that as much as you can with all the responsibilities and the things you have to do for work and life. But you try to find something that burns out the pain, because when you do it, all those other thoughts of the past and the future and the worries and the fears falls away. So a field of action that burns out the pain just for a little while. But then also that grows when you make a habit of those sorts of things. Can we enjoy everything? I think so. Practice makes perfect. Attitude is everything. Acceptance is really important. And then practice. And arranging your life in a way that works for you. Satnam.